Hi and welcome to a video about Belarus and Ukraine. Now here we got Belarus and here we got two bills of Ukraine. Just two, unfortunately. So this is primarily a Belarusian video with a Ukrainian bonus. Now Belarus uses the ruble, the Belarusian ruble, which was introduced in 1992 and replaced the Soviet ruble and the Russian ruble, I think. Yes, because the Russian ruble replaced the Soviet ruble 1-to-1, I think. So the Soviet and Russian ruble were worth equal. But the Belarusian ruble replaced them both at a 10-to-1 rate. So 10 Soviet or Russian rubles gave you 1 Belarusian ruble. Here we can see the one and only kopeck. Belarusian kopeck with a squirrel. That's 50 kopeck, half a ruble. An interesting fact that I didn't know prior to making this video was that until the last 10 years Belarus didn't actually have any coinage. No coins. They simply used banknotes for each of their denominations. So, with the smallest banknote issued in 1992, it's this 50 kopeck with the knight with a shield symbolizing Belarus at this time. And there's some text. Can it focus? Yeah. Don't fake this bill, I would suppose it says. Moving on. As with most post-Soviet countries, Belarus saw inflation. So here already we have a 25 ruble banknote. And I recently be on the streak of currencies that have 25 banknotes, which I thought was a rare denomination, but almost 3 videos in a row, Estonia, Iceland and Belarus all having a 25 banknote. That one in a nice condition also. Unlike this one. A very used 100 ruble banknote with an ox. They really did shred the communist symbolism with, unlike today, with the new independent Belarus. Doesn't look like a communist country at all. Which was the point, I'm sure. And here is a dirty 200 Belarusian ruble banknote with some buildings on it. Also not in a great shape. It has seen a lot of use during the early days of Belarus. And we're keeping, they are all still the same size, which is so impressive, really. A 1000 ruble banknote. And now we get into the interesting stuff here. Is that the parliament building or what is it? I can say in the text. It's still 1992, but by this point I believe we have gotten to the highest denomination initially issued. And replacing the Soviet ruble 10 to 1, this equals 10,000 Soviet or Russian rubles. So it's a lot, but it also rapidly lost its value. Here's the same one in a much better shape. But this is a reprint. Or it's a banknote. Or at least I believe so. But it's the 1998 edition. So this one was actually reprinted multiple times, so it didn't lose value that fast though. And then, as you can imagine, Belarus redenominated the currency 1,000 to 1, and you can really see that with the old 1,000 rubles and the new 1 ruble banknote having the same theme, the same building. But the backside is somewhat changed. This redenomination happened in the year 2000. So just 8 years the first Belarusian ruble survived. Okay, that was dumb of me. So there you can. Well, I said they were different, but well, not really. They seriously made a new denomination, but they really didn't change the design at all, except the new Belarusian symbol is that thing apparently. Yeah. A 5 ruble of the new Belarusian ruble. This was in effect for pretty long actually. Can you guess for how many years? And finally, it's still the same Belarusian ruble, the second ruble. We get larger designs of banknotes. So here's the 50 ruble banknote. I believe these ones were issued also in 2000, but this is a reprint. I know the date says 2000, but it's on 2010 reprint. With some monuments and a castle. Yeah. And with the red star there and the Belarusian pattern. But yeah, this one, especially with the stars, this one screams a return to communism or Soviet nostalgia. So this would equal 50,000 old Belarusian rubles, which would be 500,000 Soviet rubles. Holy shit. Yeah, and you can see the absolutely massive larger size of this banknote. Yeah, but moving on, we have a 1,000 banknote. This one actually with security features, more than banknotes. This is also a 2010 reprint. Now imagine, I said that one was 50,000 old Belarusian rubles and 500,000 Soviet rubles. And this would be 1 million old Belarusian rubles. Or 10 million Soviet rubles. If I got that correctly. So yeah, we have been seeing some inflation, but it will get worse. It will get worse. But unfortunately, that's the end of my banknote collection, though. But telling you about more of the continued history of the Belarusian ruble is that the second Belarusian ruble lasted until 2016 when it was replaced by the third ruble. 10,000 to 1. Yeah. So this is just 10 kopeck of the new current Belarusian ruble. Yes, really. So I believe there were 100,000 ruble banknotes issued for this. It was supposed to be replaced already in 2009 after 9 years, but due to continued inflation, it was decided to hold off and reissue these old banknotes. So that's why the 2010 reprint occurred. But the 2009 banknotes that were supposed to replace this with the third Belarusian ruble had already been printed. So they were issued in 2016, dated 2009, 7 years after they were supposed to be introduced. Because by that point, the inflation had finally calmed down and the banknotes could be issued 10,000 to 1. Unfortunately, I don't have any newer than this and not the current ones. Now, these are all banknotes that I've gotten relatively cheap, so not a huge collector really, but it's fun to have them, and can you get them from cheap, why not? And we can learn some history on the way. But now let's move on to Ukraine, which I have these ones. I don't know. Yeah, I have more, by the way. But let's show off early 1990s Ukrainian history. We got this third banknote and this 5 banknote. And the sign is the same, with the exception of the denomination. Now, what is this currency? It's the karbovanets, which was an old Ukrainian currency used, I believe, possibly far back. Like many of these currencies are named after old medieval currencies. But this one was also used during the Russian Civil War by the Ukrainian governments that tried to be independent during that time. But reintroduced in 1991, 1992, it's 3 and 5 karbovanets. And like the Belarusian ruble, it also saw massive inflation up to the hundreds of thousands to be replaced in 1996 with the current Ukrainian currency the Hyvrenia. Yeah, that will have to do. I have one, possibly two of those banknotes, but I will return to that subject when I can get a hold of more of them. But that is that. I hope you enjoyed. Let's check the other sides before we leave. Are they different? No, they weren't actually. They were the same, just different colors. Churches and some weird flowers. Yeah, but thank you for watching. That has been my video on Belarusian money. It's pretty nice actually, but it's very reminiscent of Soviet times. It only lacks Lenin, really. Yeah. See you in the next video.